You ever have someone in a red power suit threaten to have you arrested just because you stood your ground? Yeah, that happened to me. Picture this. Early morning air, sharp with pine. My porch creaking under my boots as I'm painting the railing, minding my own business, thinking the only thing I gotta worry about is whether I'll spill paint on my shirt. But Darlene Pritchard, the self-proclaimed queen of the Sunrise Valley HOA, she's out there screaming at me like I robbed a bank. My little cabin sits a good 50 meters outside her kingdom's imaginary borders. But let me tell you, Darlene cares more about her sense of control than any map or fact you could throw at her. The real kicker, every word she spat out was being recorded in 4K courtesy of the cameras I'd just finished installing the day before. See, she thought her clipboard gave her unlimited power, but she was about to get schooled in what real authority looks like. You ever dealt with an HOA president like that? Drop a comment, let me know where you're watching from. Does your HOA act like the secret police too? That morning, it was just me, the brush, in the mountains, layered blue on blue out past the trees, stretching away into haze. The silence out here, it isn't empty, it's deliberate, like the land is holding its breath. I bought this cabin late in 2023, off an older couple who built it back in 2010, just under 500 square feet, 2 acres of my own little piece of quiet. I write about off-grid living sustainability. The irony being, I finally got to live the life I'd been preaching about for years. Those cameras weren't just for show. 3 days before the HOA drama started, and I could feel it in my bones, it wasn't done. Darlene Pritchard, when she picks you as her problem, she doesn't let go easy. So I made sure every square inch of my land was covered, every conversation backed up, every interaction time-stamped to the cloud. I didn't want to fight, but I sure wasn't going to be caught napping. So when that black luxury SUV crawled up the gravel road and stopped just outside my driveway, I already knew it was her. Out, she stepped red blazer heels, clicking on gravel like she owned the place, carrying that clipboard like it was a badge. She didn't say hi, didn't ask permission, just strutted right up, stopped 10 feet from my porch and hit me with, "Do you know this cabin violates HOA regulations?" No preamble, just accusation. I leaned on the porch, arms crossed. "You don't have jurisdiction here. This land isn't covered by your rules." Her lips turned into a razor-thin line. "That's not how this works. Sunrise Valley has standards." But I could hear it. She didn't believe in law. She believed in control, and that's the kind of person who's dangerous. She tried to hand me a violation notice. I just looked at her, then at the camera under the eaves. She didn't notice. Check the county records. This land was deeded in 2009. Your HOA didn't exist until 2010. I'm not subject to your rules. She smacked the paper on my railing anyway and leaned in all menace. "Let me be clear, Mr. Brennan. I don't care what you think the boundaries are. I'm responsible for maintaining property values in this community, and your little shack is dragging them down. If you don't comply, I will escalate this." She spun, marched back to her SUV, gravel flying as she peeled out. I glanced at the letter. $500 for unauthorized construction, $200 for unapproved paint, all due in 7 days. I snapped a photo, walked inside, and pulled out my lockbox, deed, survey, title, insurance. My cabin 50 meters outside her reach, every page notarized and stamped. I documented everything, started an evidence log, and called Miles, the real estate attorney who helped me buy this place. Good guy, he just laughed. "Let me guess. Darlene Pritchard," I said. "Yeah. She's been pulling this stunt for years," he told me. "Don't engage. Let her make the next move. Folks like her always overreach, and when they do, we'll have everything we need." And man, he was right. Next day, another envelope in the mailbox, another fine, same bluff. I added it to the evidence log, ignored it like Miles said. Then 2 days later, bright orange sticker on my truck, parking violation, $300. My truck on my driveway, 50 meters outside the HOA line. I photographed everything, even grabbed a GPS screenshot. The absurdity almost made me laugh, but not quite. That's when the phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Brennan, this is Leonard Vickers on the HOA board. Might be easier if you just pay the fines, repaint, register your vehicle, just comply. I kept calm. My property isn't under your jurisdiction, Mr. Vickers. The bylaws stop at your fence line. There was silence. He knew I was right. But he warned me Darlene's talking about Lean's legal action. Just a heads up. The whole call was recorded and logged. That evening, I checked the online community group. Darlene had posted a photo of my cabin taken from an angle that made it look run down. This is what happens when someone refuses to follow community standards, she'd written, and folks piled on except for one retired carpenter, Fletcher Boone, who chimed in, still outside the HOA boundary. A couple laughing emojis, but at least someone saw through it. Miles and I met up the next day. He smiled as he scrolled through my USB drive. This is good. She's documenting her own harassment. He started drafting a cease and desist, laying out every violation: trespass, fraudulent fines, false statements. If she didn't comply, we'd file a civil lawsuit, harassment, defamation, abuse of authority, asking for damages, and a restraining order. People like her either fold or double down, he said, but we're ready either way. By now, the air around the cabin felt heavier, like thunder brewing. But I stayed on task, upgraded my surveillance professional GPS mapping new doorbell with two-way audio, every incident logged, every piece of evidence cross-referenced and color-coded. County Records Office gave me certified copies, deed survey, county map. The retired carpenter agreed to give a statement. I wasn't alone and I wasn't backing down. The cease and desist letter went out, certified mail signature confirmation. Meanwhile, I fortified the evidence, perimeter cameras, pro GPS data, organized binders, witness statements. Then Friday afternoon, I come home, 3 people in my yard. Darlene, 2 guys with a tape measure and a phone. I called the sheriff. Darlene sneered. We're conducting an official inspection. Sheriff Grant Caldwell arrived, checked the documents, checked the county map, looked up at Darlene and said, this property is outside the HOA boundary. You're trespassing. She lost it, tried to argue authority, but Caldwell stood firm. You need to leave this property now. She snatched his warning slip, swore she'd make sure I faced consequences, but Caldwell cut her off. Ma'am, that sounds like a threat. Leave now or you will be arrested. She stomped to her SUV. The 2 men scurried after her, and they vanished in a cloud of gravel. I had it all on video, sent the footage to Miles by Monday. The lawsuit was filed: harassment, trespass, defamation, abuse of authority, all backed by ironclad evidence. The county opened a formal investigation into the HOA, assigned an investigator. The tension started to fade. I tracked down other witnesses, including a retired nurse Darlene had fined over a garden fence. She gave a statement too. Piece by piece, I built a case that no one could ignore. The escalation was clear: verbal confrontation, fake fines, public defamation, trespassing, sheriff intervention, lawsuit, county hearing. At the hearing, I laid it all out: maps, timelines, photos, videos. Darlene's defense crumbled. The county board ruled my property was outside the HOA. Her actions were illegal. The HOA ordered to cease all enforcement. Darlene forced to apologize publicly. The HOA put under county oversight. You should have seen the community page that night. People coming out of the woodwork, telling their own stories, thanking me, saying the place finally felt free. Darlene settled the lawsuit, $30,000 and a permanent restraining order. She lost her position, her reputation, and any illusion of power. I didn't win by yelling or by stooping to her level. I won with patience, with evidence, by trusting the law. The funny thing is, once people saw justice done, they weren't afraid anymore. They started pushing back, changing things for the better. That's how it works. One person stands up and suddenly the bully doesn't look so big. So if you ever find yourself up against someone swinging their clipboard like it's Excalibur, remember, power isn't about who's loudest. It's about who's right, who's got the proof, and who knows how to use it. Don't let anyone make you feel small just because they act big. If you've ever tangled with an HOA or stood up to someone in power, share your story in the comments. Tell me, what does justice look like to you? And if you think someone needs to hear this, send it their way. Thanks for sticking around. Don't forget to subscribe if you want more stories where the underdog comes out on top.